Rather than rehearsing the debate that's obviously been going on all day, I think it might be worth asking you what constitutes success or failure in the campaign we're about to embark on. I mean, would you consider it a failure if we were still there in 4 years' time, potentially?
Well, I'd hope it won't be 4 years, but I'd caution that it isn't going to be months. I've said this evening in the debate that while we are using airstrikes to contain and degrade ISIL in Raqqa, we will be pursuing a political track trying to resolve the Syrian civil war. But it's only when those two things come together, when the degradation of ISIL in Raqqa and the creation of a transitional Syrian government are both happening, that we can then actually utilize the forces that are currently fighting each other, the Syrian government forces, the Syrian opposition forces, the Kurdish forces, and get them turned around, facing towards ISIL and able to finish off the job in Raqqa, reclaiming what will then be the territory of the new free Syria from the evil empire of Daesh.
Okay, now give us a sense of your timescale on how long you think it might take to reach that political settlement. Would it be a failure if there was no political settlement of that kind, say, within 18 months?
Well, that's the target that we've set out clearly at Vienna. We've said 6 months to create a transitional government, 18 months to internationally supervised elections. Now, that's an ambitious target, but it's the one that all 19 countries, including Russia, including Iran, including Saudi Arabia, Turkey, China, as well as the US, France and Britain, have all agreed to work to a target of 18 months to an election supervised by the UN that will include Syrians in the diaspora, those who've been displaced into refugee camps by this conflict. They must have a right to vote in this election.
And if it doesn't happen, or if it had no prospect of happening after 18 months or 2 years, do we just stay there and just carry on bombing Raqqa until something else happens? What is the plan there?
Well, we're determined to make this happen, and all the powers involved, including Russia, want to see ISIL degraded and ultimately destroyed, because ISIL represents a huge threat to all of us. But look, we're doing two things with these airstrikes. We're delivering an immediate benefit by degrading ISIL's ability to mount external attacks, to plan and execute external attacks. So just starting those airstrikes, even before we get anywhere near a ground assault on Raqqa, will improve the safety of Britain, of France, of Europe, and of British and French people and others, wherever they are in the world.
No, we've heard that, but you must have some plan B for if the ground force doesn't materialise and there isn't a political settlement of the type you're talking about. And the decision then will be, we either stay or we leave. Can you imagine, for example, us leaving while IS still control Raqqa, for example?
I cannot believe us stopping airstrikes against Daesh in Raqqa for so long as they represent a threat to us, a threat to British citizens, and a threat to the UK homeland. No, we would have to continue with those airstrikes. But look, there will be a political settlement in Syria. I sincerely hope that it's achieved within the timescale that we've set out at Vienna. But if it isn't, that won't mean that we give up and go home. We have got to find a political solution to the civil war in Syria. There is no military solution. There can only be a political solution to that civil war.
As we stand on the eve of Britain entering this arena, what is it that is going to make you lose sleep? What are you most afraid of?
I'm most afraid of the threat that ISIL represents to our security here in Britain, to our citizens travelling abroad. That plane over Sharm el-Sheikh could have been a British plane. The attacks on the streets of Paris could so easily have been attacks on the streets of London.
If Syrian forces, who you hope, opposition forces, who you hope will join the assault on ISIS, if they say, we will join that assault, but we need you to do more than just bomb ISIS, we need you to protect us against Assad, will you give them that protection? No-fly zones or whatever it'll take?
Let me be absolutely clear about this. The time for a ground assault against Raqqa will be when a transitional government is in place in Syria. because all these people that we need to focus on ISIL are busy fighting each other at the moment in the civil war. The rump of the Syrian army, the Free Syrian Army, the opposition forces, the Kurds, they're all engaged in a civil war. We've got to settle that civil war. We've got to get those people, admittedly uncomfortable bedfellows, many of them, but we've got to get them working alongside each other, not necessarily together, but alongside each other, to reclaim the territory of their country, Syria, from these occupiers of ISIL.
So there won't be any ground offensive that only, on this scenario you're talking about, doesn't really involve just the 70,000 opposition forces. What you're talking about is a political settlement that leads to the final assault.
That's what we've always been talking about. We're degrading ISIL now. We're preventing them from attacking us by keeping them under pressure now. But to finish ISIL off, we have to finish the Syrian civil war. We've always been very clear about that. The two things go hand in hand. So long as Assad is there and fighting this civil war, we will not be able to finish ISIL off, because the opposition in Syria will be trying to fight two battles at once, against Assad and against ISIL.
Just one last quick one. Do you respect the people who voted against the government tonight? And do you regret the talk of terrorist sympathisers and the like?
Look, I've said in the debate today that I recognise that there are people in the House of Commons with strongly held, long established pacifist views who do not believe in the efficacy of military action in any case. And I believe for many of them, I believe for the leader of the opposition, that is a genuinely and sincerely held view, and I respect that. But there is a difference between an individual backbench member holding a conscientious view on something and the leader of the opposition seeking to impose that view on a great political party that aspires to be a party of government. That's a very different thing.
Philip Hammond, thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Thank you.